So today on TGI we're talking about stereotypes, which is why I'm holding a sheep.
Welcome to today's show. Today we've got a very exciting setup. We've got Tamar back with us, and we've got someone new. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Father Damon. Would you like to tell us a little about yourself?
My name's Damien Feeney. I live in Wolverhampton, and I love music, and I love too much food.
Fantastic. So I'm going to ask you first of all today. So one of the things I've got on the table today is watching the English, because actually I've just upset Simon.
I think it's all right.
Because he's watching me with
I think we're all right.
I think we're all right.
Blooper reel.
Oh dear. Right, carry on regardless.
So one of our
Don't knock the cameras.
one of our props is watching the English.
Yes.
And actually we're going to be thinking a little bit about society and what it thinks today. But what's your favourite thing about being English?
My favourite thing about being English is that whenever the English complain, they always apologise before they do so. I'm very sorry, but... and you hear it at in hotels, in shops, and I just think it's wonderful. It's so endearing.
Yeah, it is. I'm ever so sorry, but I think you might have stolen my car.
Exactly. There you have it.
Any other thoughts? What's brilliant about being English?
I love it that the English just queue up all the time. And no one else does. You go to Europe and everyone just like piles in front of you, and the English are stood at the back just like rude.
Absolutely, absolutely. Can I start a queue, please? You know, I've joined queues that actually don't have any.
Just randomly go around starting queues.
Well, yeah. Well, or just standing in them, standing behind people.
Just for a laugh.
Yeah.
Just for a laugh.
Yeah. Do you have a favourite
Favourite thing
English
about
trait? Yes.
well, no,
No.
because I'm not English. My favourite English trait is when they lose to us in the rugby. That's my favourite thing about the English is when they lose to us in the rugby. I love that.
Okay, okay. Do you have a favourite Great British trait?
Great British trait. Not really. No, I've got a favourite Welsh trait.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, it's winning at the rugby against the English like that. So I think
You must have a very long memory.
No, excuse me. No, I think my favourite Welsh trait is celebration and being straightforward. I like that, and I like the domineering Welsh woman trait. Quite like that. Yeah.
Did your wife tell you to say that?
No. I just do it automatically without even being told.
Anymore.
It's brought up with it.
Love it. Mine's not quite as exciting. It's just tea. I just love the fact that you can have a cup of tea at any point.
Absolutely.
There's I think it's Gracie Fields sings a song about tea and how you should have a tea in the morning and at 11 o'clock and then a nice cup of tea before you go to bed. I'll leave you to look that one up. It's quite good. Anyway, two more interesting things. We have a wonderful question today from Will Moore on YouTube. Thank you very much for your question, which is, do you think that society's view of the church reflects what the church is actually like? Society's view of the church and what it's actually like.
I knew you were going to look at me. I just knew you were going. I think it depends. I think that the view that gets reflected of the church depends on whether we're talking about the national church or the local church. Local church tends to connect with local communities, and they tend to be good news stories of one sort or another. Just simple everyday stories of people living their lives and being supported in doing so. It's when it gets broader than that and we start to look at things that are going on in the nation as a whole, questions which the media believe should be important, and where they offer a commentary which can sometimes, I think, be a little ill-advised. But then again, the church is a body which is always striving to be better. It's full of broken people, it's full of frail people. We're doing our best to be the church God wants us to be. And that doesn't always fit well with people, and sometimes we get it very wrong.
I think you're right. I think we do, and I think actually that's when it hits the headlines, isn't
That's
it?
right.
That's when it becomes contentious.
But I think as well, though, it's a bit like when I was out drinking in the pub on Friday with my mates. And if you're a vicar, never go out drinking in the pub because you can't have a night off because you just end up working all the time.
That's right.
And this woman came up to me and she goes, oh yeah, I do believe in God. Don't make fun of me, please. And I said, I'm the vicar. And she went, oh no, but you know. And I think what she's trying to articulate there sometimes is the image of what Christianity is as projected by the elite is a polar opposite of what Christianity is. And I think it makes the elite feel better to do so. And I think that being Welsh, I think it's got a different edge to it, is that when I was a kid, you watch the telly, BBC and what have you, they would say Pontypridd,
Yeah.
right? And then they would say, yeah, or whatever it's called, right? And my dad used to shout, no, I used to slap them all the time, and my dad used to shout, they can say Gorbachev, but they can't say Ponty, and shout really loud like that. And I think what it is Christianity, or the church in Britain now, is in the kind of sheep zone,
Okay.
right? Where it's kind of okay to make jokes about Welsh people and sheep, right? I like the sheep, right? But it's not okay for other groups. And I think that's immensely sad and shows the utter hypocrisy and the really bad behaviour of some people in the elite. And I think we've been victims of that.
It's interesting that I suspect every single person, if you drill down, will believe themselves to be a member of the last group it's okay to pick on. And I think the church sometimes has that mentality. And I think the church actually needs to be a bit more robust about it.
Yeah, people are very precious, aren't they? Oh, I'm offended. I'm so
I'm gonna be offended
by
now.
that.
Yeah.
You've offended me now. And I
Yes.
do think there is a culture where
Yes.
actually, if you just want to shut somebody up, you say, I'm offended, and they can't say
Oh, I'm not saying
anything
that.
else.
No,
But
I'm not saying that.
Think,
Yeah.
I equally think that, there are people who do have a lack of sense of humour in society. And so they think that there are things that are just funny by saying them, and they often end up being stereotypes.
I
which
don't
can
mind
be
that. No, I
quite
think the thing is
hurtful.
with it, I think when I'm out and about and what have you, and I don't think people in Drayton or people who've met me would say, do you know, he's a really miserable sod, that vicar.
Yeah.
And he can't take a joke and all these sorts of other things. I don't think that's the case. I think sometimes that what happens with the church is we've ended up in a situation where we absorb stereotypes about things which aren't helpful.
Yeah.
And I think all of us in the church can end up reflecting sometimes the things that we've absorbed subconsciously. And I think that's as much of a problem as anything else. And maybe it's just because I'm oppressed because I'm Welsh.
Well, I mean, it certainly could be.
Yeah, just because I'm just like, upset about losing so much.
So, Tamar, do you think, is the church what society think it is?
I think it depends on which society you're talking about, because different people will see the church as different things. Like, from my experience at uni, people tended to think that the church was a place with lots of rules and it was boring and you weren't allowed to drink alcohol and you weren't allowed to go out and stuff like that. But then we've got to remember that we are the representatives of the church. So in those situations, just living your true self, just being who you are and like living out your truth, people will recognise that and then they'll form an opinion of the church based on your example.
Yeah.
So
But
I
it's
think
interesting,
often-
when you were in uni, I bet they said the same thing. I used to go out when I was in university and they would say the same thing, oh, you're not allowed to go out because you're a Christian.
But then
People
as long
do
as you
say
do it
that.
once, when you just
Yeah.
say one thing to them, they will believe you. That it's not like they're like stuck
Oh,
in it
no,
and
no,
like,
they're
no,
not.
you're not allowed to do this.
Absolutely. But I do think that actually we can get a little bit fixated in the church about what people think about the church.
Yeah.
And actually people think a lot of different things about a lot of different things. We're not terribly fixated about what people necessarily think about football. We know that lots of people like football, but there are also people who really don't. So there's going to be a variety of attitudes. But I think that it is interesting that it hits some of those nerves that we have about what is a stereotypical Christian and what we might think about being a Christian ourselves, and that sort of place as to what does it mean to actually be a follower of Christ? Does it mean following rules, or does it mean living out our individual personal lives?
But maybe we just need to come out of the closet a bit more and not be as frightened. And I think that's the thing, is that the stereotypes shut us down sometimes. We're frightened of sharing our faith and being who we are. And I think the
you're
more
right.
we are who we are, like with this, then it'll just go away.
So I think
Sorry, the church.
being a good example of being a Christian in society does mean being who you are. Thank you for watching. Trying to draw it together and then you interrupt.
No, but see, it's great.
Another thing.
Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, share it with a friend who might be interested, subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're not already subscribed, and share this video on social media.